My babies are having kittens. So far I got 3, and I got 1 little dog in here. Let's look at bread in the book of Genesis. Let's go Genesis 3, 17 through 19. And unto Abraham he said, Because thou hast hearkened to the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, Thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake. In sorrow thou shalt eat it all the days of thy life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herbs of the field. In the sweat of thy face thou shalt eat bread, till thou return unto the ground, for out of it wast thou taken. For dust thou art, and dust thou shalt return. Let's go to chapter 14, 18 through 20. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed him, and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be the Most High God, which hath delivered thine enemies into thy hand, and he gave him tithes of all. Let's go to chapter 18, 3 through 5. And said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourself under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts. After that ye shall pass on, for therefore are ye come to your servant. And they said, So do, thou hast said. Let's go to chapter 19, 1 through 3. And there came 2 angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat at the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face towards the ground. And he said, Behold now, my Lord, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and you shall rise up early, and go on your way. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the streets all night. And he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him, and entered into his house, and he made them a feast, and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. Let's go to chapter 21, 13 and 14. And also of the son of the bondwoman will I make a nation, because he is thy seed. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and took bread and a bottle of water, and gave it to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder, and the child, and sent her away. And she departed, and wandered in the wilderness of Bathsheba. Let's go to chapter 25, 29 through 34. And Jacob sawed cords, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said unto Jacob, Feed me, I pray thee, with that some red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, Sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, Behold, I am at a point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? And Jacob said, Swear to me this day. And he swore unto him, and he sold his birthright to Jacob. And Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Let's go to chapter 27, and we want 15 through 17. And Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob her younger son. And she put the skin of the kids of the goat upon his hand, and upon his smooth of his neck. And she gave a savory meat, and the bread, which she had prepared, unto the hand of her son Jacob. Let's go to chapter 28, 20 through 22. And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, If God be with me, and keep me in this way, that I go, I will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace. Then shall the Lord be my God, and this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be God's house, and of all that thou give me, I will surely give the tenth unto thee. Let's go to chapter 31, 53 through 55. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor and the God of their father judged between us. And Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered sacrifice upon the mount, and called his brother to eat bread. And they did eat bread, and tarried all night in the mount. And early in the morning Laban rose up and kissed his sons and his daughters, and blessed them. And Laban departed and returned to his place. Let's go to chapter 37 and 25. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels, bringing spicy and palm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. Go to 39 and verse 6. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person, and well favored. Let's go to chapter 51, 54, and 55. And the 7 years of dearth began to come, according to Joseph has said. And the dearth was in all the land, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread. And when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried unto Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said unto all the Egyptians, Go unto Joseph, what he saith to do, you do. Let's go to chapter 43, 25 through 32. And they made ready the present against Joseph, came at noon, for they heard that they should eat bread there. And when Joseph came home, they brought him the present which was in their hand into the house, and bowed themselves to him to the earth. And he asked them of their welfare, and said, Is your father well, the old man of whom you speak? Is he yet alive? And they answered, Thy servant, our father, is a good health. He is yet alive. And they bowed down their heads and made obedience. And he lifted up his eyes and saw the brother of Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, Is your younger brother, of whom you speak unto me? And he said, God be gracious unto thee, my son. And Joseph made haste, for his bowels did yearn upon his brother. And he sought where to weep. And he entered into his chamber and wept there. And he washed his face and went out and refrained himself and said, Set on bread. And they set on for him by himself, and for them by themselves, and for the Egyptians which did eat with him by themselves, because the Egyptians might not eat bread with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination unto the Egyptians. Let's go to chapter 45, 22 and 23. And to all them he gave each man change of raiment. But to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of raiment. And to his father he sent after this manner, 10 asses laden with good things of Egypt, and 10 she-asses laden with corn and bread and meat for his father by the way. Let's go to chapter 47, 12 through 20. And Pharaoh nourished his father and his brethren, and all his father's household with bread according to their families. And there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore. so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the corn which they brought. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. And when Pharaoh fell in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came to Joseph and said, Give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence? For the money faileth. And Joseph said, Give your cattle, and I will give you for your cattle if money fail. And they brought their cattle to Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for horses, and for the flock, and for the cattle of the herd, and for the asses. And he fed them with bread for all their cattle for that year. And when the year was ended, they came unto him the second year, and said unto him, We will not hide it from my lord, how that our money is spent. My lord also hath a herd of cattle. There is not aught left in the sight of my lord, but our bodies and our land. Wherefore shall we die before thy eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh, and give us seed that we may live, and not die, that the land be not desolate. And Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for the Egyptians sold every man his field, because the famine prevailed over them. So the land became Pharaoh's. Let's go to 49, and we want verse 20. Out of Asher his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dynasties. In the Strong's, it is 3899. Food, bread or grain, fruit, loaf, meat, and victuals.